Hello everyone, Ken here once again. I want to talk about a topic that I get a lot of questions about, and that's what stage of the college planning process are you on? Now, I realize a lot of folks listening to this might be in a different place as far as where their college plans are at. And they might be trying to get a hold of what they really need to do next to make a smart decision. And since there's so much information out there, well, we want to try to help you recognize step by step a path that can get you where you want to go. So that way, there's no unexpected or unpleasant surprises. Now, I see college planning breaking down into 4 stages. The early stage is from birth up through grammar school, up to about 5th grade. Now, the early stage, right, it takes years of time, and college is still far off into the future. The mid-stage is your middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. And then late stage is actually freshman and sophomore year. They're already on track to finish high school soon, and by junior or senior year, you're really at your final stage. Now, when I put it in these terms, some families and parents, they're nodding their head in agreement. They think, hey, this is exactly how I see it. But other folks are rather shocked because for them, the process really just occurs sometime at the end of high school. But as we've seen, times have really changed. And today, college planning is actually a very competitive process that takes years of development. And also you have to expect that by the time a student matures to begin college, the economy could be rapidly different or rapidly changed by the time that time comes. So you got to start looking at it from the big picture first so you can take some step-by-step plans early on to manage this change process. So let's talk about what you can do to prepare. Well, in the early stage, first and foremost, you're focused on early childhood development. Every child's different. Everyone knows that different children have different needs. And early on, there's a lot of support that our school systems provide to help get kids off on the right foot. And as a parent, you're doing everything you can to support that process. But truthfully, there's only so much you can achieve. The best most parents can do early on is to focus on developing a savings plan so that way they can have some seed money for the child once they reach the age where going to school and higher education becomes an option. It's better to save some money for college early on, especially because it gives the opportunity for the money to grow long term. But once a student gets into middle school, you're going to start to identify interests, habits, and behavioral patterns in the student as they go through a lot of emotional and physical change with their bodies in that age. And they're really starting to think about what the environment's looking like as far as higher education is concerned. You want to know what type of colleges are out there, what their costs are looking like, and what type of admissions criteria are required, so that way you're prepared for your child to hit the later stages of college preparation, which will be in their freshman and sophomore years. So let's jump to that part. In your late stages, you're zeroing in on test prep. You're making sure the student is maintaining certain grade levels in order to qualify for admission to some of the top schools we might be considering as an option. And you're already starting to get into what's involved in financial aid and scholarship prep. Now, some parents come back and think that that's too soon to be worrying about all that stuff. They couldn't be any more wrong. And today we see the FAFSA has actually changed. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And the big change that's recently happened is that they use prior year tax information to determine eligibility. What that means is they're going to look back to a tax return from 2 years ago to determine what financial aid eligibility you're going to be available to have when you actually start school. So you can imagine it's a tax return, that's coinciding with the students, sophomore or junior year in high school. Look, it used to be whatever tax return was filed most recently. So this means people are managing their income and thinking about how their assets are going to fall on a FAFSA form. They're doing it well in advance before filing the actual FAFSA. So you want to be wise to how that process works and begin to educate yourself so you're prepared to manage financial aid eligibility. And if it turns out you can't find financial aid, you want to be ready for scholarships. I mean, no matter what, you want the scholarships, right? But scholarships are tough to acquire. It's very competitive. Not everyone's going to get one. So you have to be extra aware to find a niche scholarship that might apply to your kid. You know, it's just because your kid's not the super A+ student, or maybe they're not the star athlete, doesn't mean they can't find a way to qualify for a scholarship that might apply for community service or leadership or something along the lines that might demonstrate character more so than just having very high grades. So you want to start looking at the environment of scholarships to see what you can qualify for. And then by the time junior and senior year rolls around, you're really zeroing in on admissions. By now, the bulk of the academic work has been completed. By now, tests have been completed, and now you're just sizing up your options. You're going to find out where you're going to be admitted and where you're not going to be admitted. And you're going to have to make some final decisions as to where you're going to attend and how you're going to pay for it. So during your junior and senior year, this can be a very stressful stage because while some students are going to get into the school they always wanted, others might find out that things won't work out the way they had hoped. So we want to do everything we can to deal with this process step by step. So even if things don't go as well as we all hoped, we have a backup plan and we have a way to get through this process, because let's face it, folks, having a college plan is the best you can do to manage all the change that's involved in order to make this work. Now, this is just one way of looking at it, but I find that when I help families look at it from the big picture first, it helps them manage the small steps and decisions that add up over the course of many years. You know, there's nothing like being prepared. And let's face it, parents need to help their kid in order to handle all this stuff, because it has become, in many ways, very overwhelming. You know, rare is the student that can do all this by themselves. They need parental support, they need advisor support, just to get them going in the right direction. I have all the faith in the world that students and parents can find the right path that they need, but they need transparency, they need the right data, and they need to think big picture, long term, so that way they know where their energy is really going. So that's a quick heads up as to how this process can work. If you have any questions for me, I'm at kennethjamesllp@gmail.com. I'll put the email address down at the bottom. You can comment below if you have any other questions. But guys, let's start thinking big about how our college plans are going to work. You know, there's going to be some change in higher education, but it's not going to change as far as making smart decisions for higher education and really developing a young person into a free-thinking adult that can manage this new economy and really help lead our nation into the future. If we're going to get a handle on our higher education systems, well, families need to take charge of their planning process. So I hope this is helpful for you. Again, you can email me at kennethjamesllp@gmail.com. Leave a comment below. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much, and have a great day.